Well, hello there, Patreon, and welcome to lesson number 8 of branding. Today, we're going to talk a little more about logo. It's not going to be as extensive as it was last time. We're going to talk more about your logo color. Now, when you're coming up with your logo color, you want to make sure that it's going to be able to be printed, that you're going to see it across the web, that you're going to be able to embroider it or put it on clothes, any of that stuff fairly easily. So you're going to need to have the RGB value, which is your web, hexadecimal value, which is also web, but it's a lot of fun to use the hexadecimal color, the hex color, if you're playing in Photoshop or Illustrator, because if you need it somewhere else, all you have to do is just copy and paste it somewhere, whereas RGB, you've got three different colors to, or three different numbers to try and copy and paste, and it just gets to be more of a hassle. You also need CMYK for the printing. So those are kind of the main ones, but then there's also the Pantone color. Now I'm going to leave a link, not a link, you know what, I'm just going to attach the Pantone sheet that I have down below so you can check out all the colors, see if yours matches up. Here's where the thing gets tricky. So I've gone through with the Maniacs branding logo multiple times to try and figure out, okay, this looks close to this, close to that, and everything else, because just by selecting, say in Photoshop, there's a color picker. And so I know the hexadecimal color that the logo is, the red. And so just because I have that doesn't mean it's going to translate to all the other different types. It's not going to translate perfectly to RGB and CMYK and Pantone. So you gotta kind of play, and even finding a great printer can be tricky. I found somebody that actually was able to match the colors fairly closely, but it's something that you're gonna want to keep in mind. The first color to really worry about hitting correctly is your Pantone color, so that's what I always recommend that you start with. Make sure and get that. What I'll do is I'll attach not only the Pantone guide below, I will also attach the little graphic that I made with all of Maniac's branding's colors so you can see what I'm talking about. If you have any kind of graphic software, you can just type that in and see what the values show and see that the reds are slightly different, but when they're done on the different CMYK and RGB and everything else, they all look pretty much the same. And I know that sounds really confusing, but if I were to translate the hex color directly to CMYK, it would look a lot more orange than it actually is. So that's why you've just got to try and play, do some printing, send a little sample out to a printer, maybe even print something out on your little personal printer at home to try and get the color matches. So there you go, folks. It gets tricky. Matching the colors is difficult. But if you have the Pantone color, you're probably pretty close to the hex color, and so most of what you can do when it comes to digital is going to be good to go. Most of what you can do when it comes to embroidery and print is going to be good to go, but it is going to be off a little. So just be mindful of that, keep your eye open for it, and if you can find somebody that tries to match the colors really well between themselves, do that, because then you'll have the numbers and you'll always be consistent across the board. That's all I've got for this week's lesson. Hope everybody's having fun. Hope you're having, the health stuff, being healthy. Wow, I really slipped that up. Hope you're being safe, and as always, stay gutsy, gang.